Hey guys, Lord here, back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys Spawn Universe Ninja Spawn. And before we get into it here, let's first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, Ninja Spawn does come with two pairs of swords, the first of which being this pair of Katana Swords, which are very common with ninjas, I hear, especially turtles. But if I'm being honest, these are not the most Spawn-esque weapons ever to come with a Ninja Spawn. If you guys have been tuning in to Throwback Thursdays, you know what a Ninja Spawn sword should look like, and that is essentially what this pair looks like. Now these big Mamba swords here are what I think of when I think of Ninja Spawn swords. Almost Scimitar-esque, very Mortal Kombat-esque as well. But that said, what is a Ninja Spawn with this many swords without a scabbard to put a couple of them in? Now I will say, my one point of contention with this scabbard is it's hollow on the bottom, and that's not ideal because when placing one of the katanas in here, they sometimes have a tendency to fall out, and that's no good, but you really got to mess with it to get them to fall out. But, you know, you can always throw these big mambas in there too. And I will say, of the two types of swords, these stay in there a little better. I'm not sure how the hell you would draw that, because there's this big point here that would stop it from coming out in the first place, but you know, it is hollow on the bottom, so if that's how it's supposed to be, then, well, I guess it's not going to be that hard, is it? That said, it does peg onto his back pretty easily, but we'll save that for later. That said, it should be worth noting also that the Mortal Kombat style sword does take up a little bit less real estate than a Katana sword. It is a little shorter because it's curved, and the way it sits in the sheath, it doesn't stick out nearly as far, whereas the Katana's like straight like this. This is more down like this, so this is probably the sword I'll put on the back. As much as I'd rather him holding them, it just takes up less real estate, and starting to run out of that, if I'm being quite honest, especially with all these damn pre-orders in the past week. Ugh. But taking a closer look at Ninja Spawn, of course, comes with the trademark McFarlane Toys hockey puck display stand, which we're used to seeing with all McFarlane Toys figures at this point. And if I'm being honest, looking at the box art for this guy, kind of wish that's the figure we got instead. I think that looks a little bit cooler. This just looks like Al Simmons wearing like a ninja mask, but I don't hate it, but I do prefer the packaging art a little bit more. That said, this is a pretty decent figure. I say that because he does have some looseness, particularly in this one leg here, in the hip. It's not helping the situation at all. He's very difficult to stand, at least for me. And he's got loose toes compared to the Joker and the Kotal Khan I looked at last week, which it's 2022, man. Can loose joints just not be a problem anymore? I get if it's a figure from 20 years ago, you open it and it's loose, but now it's like, it just seems like there have been so many advances in technology as far as action figures go. Why are these still problems? These are like day one fix it then issues, and we're still dealing with them to this day. I get that stuff's mass produced, but golly gee whiz, man, it would be nice if we didn't have to deal with it anymore. Just imagine the reality we'd be living in if that wasn't the case. Either way, as far as articulation on this guy goes, his head will rotate. It doesn't get a whole lot of up and down. It gets a little bit, not a ton. I think he's got like a ball joint in the neck, more or less, kind of like the Three Jokers Batman had. Doesn't seem like he's got a... yeah, he's got like a ball joint in the neck there, like a double ball peg. That works pretty well. Should be worth noting that this little tassel on the back of his mask can be pulled out and kind of posed around a little bit. But be careful with that. That is a thin piece of soft PVC. You don't want to tear it, but it does come out. That said, his shoulders do go out to the side. They go back down. He does have that butterfly thing in there, but it is pretty hindered, so you're not going to get a ton out of that. You do get a little bit. He's got a bicep swivel, which I gotta say, the arms on this guy are a lot gummier than I'm used to seeing on any of these McFarlane Toys releases. He's got a double elbow, kind of chunky, but not terrible. And then he's got the ball hinge wrists. Would have liked a little bit more paint here on his boots, or his shin guards there, because seems like these spikes and some of these armor plates could have been painted, but they're not. Now you could make the argument that these are leather plates, so I guess this isn't that big of a deal, but the spikes not being painted, it comes off a little cheap, but it is what it is. It's not terrible, and really it's easier to paint than sculpt, so you could just do that yourself, throw it on there. 5-10 minutes probably be done, because it doesn't seem like it's very difficult to do. That said, the spikes are super soft, so getting paint to stick to that probably be a little bit more challenging. That said, as far as his torso goes, he's got the crunch. He's got crunch. He's got crunch back too, but he's got it forward. And I wouldn't say this is loose, but it's very butter smooth. So that's a plus. Same thing for the waist. That's a little tighter. But this up here, it's not loose, but it is very butter smooth. So I do like that. Hips kick out to the side. They kick back down. I have to excuse the diaper. I had him posed up for the final thought segment, the URL shot, and it kind of warped it a little bit. But his hips can kick out to the side. They can kick forward. They do kick out to the side when you do that, though, so that's something to note. He's got a little thigh quiver in there, but nothing to write home about. I think he's got more on this side. It's not really existent, if I'm being honest. He's got a double knee, which is kind of loose on both sides, the upper knee in particular. That said, the double knee doesn't look terrible. It's flat here, but there's a little bit of a gap here. Then you got this spike on the side here. Be careful with that. It's actually pretty sharp. But nothing terrible. I do tend to click the lower legs back one to help him to stand a little better. That said, his ankles do rotate pretty loose there too, on both sides. That said, the hinge is okay on this side. I think this side's a little, this side is like barely detented. That's the same thing with this hip. It is pretty loose on this side, but it seems to want to stay in certain positions, so I guess it is what it is. That said, he does have a rocker as well, but it's kind of stiff, so be careful with that. You don't want to snap that peg off, but I think a little bit of heat might fix that. And he does have the toe hinge, which again is not as good as the Joker or Kotal Khan. So yeah, it is what it is. It's unfortunate. I think the Dark Redeemers were even a little better than that, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he's a little bit too loose for my liking, I'm being perfectly honest. And that said, he does have pinkles on the bottom of the feet for the hockey puck display stand. And he's got cakes, so if you're into Spawn butts, he's got a very exaggerated crack in cheek ratio there. So there you go. I know that's probably weird, and I lost half my subs for that, but I don't care. I think it's funny. That said, there is the peg hole on the back for the scabbard, but to save some time, I'm going to cut to the size comparisons and gear this guy up. So again, just to save a little bit of time, and you can see it has a tendency to fall forward. And the fact that it is a absolute scorcher here in upstate New York lately, it is not helping the situation at all. It's very, very top heavy, even though he kind of isn't. It's just the loose joints in the feet it's just throwing him off, dude. And it's not okay. And in 2022, again, I don't think we should have these loose joint problems. I think that's bupkis, especially for the amount of money these things cost. Especially with Hasbro raising their prices. I mean, have you seen the price of some of their shit? It's kind of ridiculous. And the fact that they're going to be all, oh, loose joints or whatever. Yeah, that doesn't fly with this guy. But with that being said, let's now cut, get this guy geared up, take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's our new-ish Spawn Universe Ninja Spawn next to a couple of his vintage counterparts. Ninja Spawn 1 from Spawn Series 3 or 4, I can't remember which exactly. And then we also have Manga Ninja Spawn from Manga Spawn Series 1, which I do believe was Spawn Series 9. And as you can see, both Ninja Spawn 1 and the Spawn Universe Ninja Spawn share the most in common, while the Manga Ninja Spawn is just in a league of its own. Again, a lot of medieval Spawn elements going on with that particular Ninja Spawn right there. And it should be worth noting, I do not have all the Ninja Spawns. There is one I'm missing, but he is a little bit more on the fragile side, so that's probably for the best. But if I did have to pick a favorite of these three, I'd probably go with the Spawn Universe one. But with all that being said, I would like to see a figure of the version of Ninja Spawn on the back of that one's packaging. I think the design is really cool and would lend itself well to action figure form. That said, it should also be worth noting that these guys do share one thing in common with each other, and that's the fact that they all are wearing a mask that covers up most of their face. The only major difference being the Spawn Universe Ninja Spawn has a red mask instead of a black one. Next up, here he is alongside a couple other Hell Spawns from the Spawn Universe line, Raven Spawn and Gunslinger Spawn, who, as you can see, totally dwarf this guy as well. So it makes me wonder if this first wave of Spawn Universe figures wasn't out of scale, because it seems like since then these figures keep getting smaller and smaller, and the scale is getting a little bit more realistic, at least with the figures we've been getting recently. That said, in hindsight, it probably would have made more sense to bust out one of my Mandarin Spawns, but it is what it is, I suppose. And last but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, the 11th Spawn, who's about neck and neck with Ninja Spawn, who could really pass as an alternate skin for good old 11th Spawn when you really think about it. But with that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and aside from the lack of paint applications in certain areas and the occasional loose joint here and there, which it's 2022, man, can that not be a problem anymore? Please and thank you. I do still really like this version of Ninja Spawn. It's another Hell Spawn for our Spawn Universe roster that actually comes with quite a few accessories as far as any McFarlane Toys release is concerned. Granted, I guess my only other real point of contention with this figure is the way they executed these sword scabbards on the back. I don't like the fact that they are hollow and the swords do fall out occasionally. That's just not ideal for a ninja character like this. But with all that being said, if you are into this Spawn Universe line like me and are looking to add a new Ninja Spawn to your Spawn collection, then this is a definite must-have. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you're so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when the version of the character on the box is a little bit cooler than the figure itself. I mean, I like this figure, but I will like the one on the box a little bit more. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.